If you're a GT-R fan, you'll know that after 18 years, production of the Nissan GT-R has finally come to an end.
That's right, and that after about 5 years of teasing us with announcements about a new GT-R that we all hoped was going to be the rumoured R36, only for them then to reveal it is in fact the next special edition that they sold in an increasingly small number of territories until finally they have closed the order book. And I'm a little bit sad about it, you know.
Genuinely, I am too, because it has been an iconic car, but it has been in production for a very long time and is getting a little long in the tooth. And I think it is long overdue a replacement.
Even 20, 30 years ago, a car being in production, not unchanged, but almost unchanged, was kind of rare. And in this day and age, for a car to be in production for a decade is, well, already trying to stretch it a little bit. In the time it took Nissan to get the GT-R R35 from start to finish, Porsche started with the 997, then went to the 991, and then went to the 992. And in fact, in the same year that Nissan are finally ending production of the R35, they're introducing the facelift of the 992. Ferrari went from the F430 to the 458 to the 488 to the F8 to the 296, and they've just closed the order books on that. Lamborghini, meanwhile, they did bring a car out.
Yes, and Lamborghini are renowned for dragging out their model lines for years and years and years and doing various updates and special editions. So I suppose we could potentially forgive Nissan in some ways, because having spent some time in the final edition Nismo, at least the final version we got in the UK, we were both very impressed with its capabilities. But we do know that it is time for something new. So what do we think the R36 is likely to be? Or more importantly, for me, what do we want it to be?
Yeah, now, there are two prevailing trains of thought with this. There is a separate one, which is that they're going to do nothing at all, but I refuse to believe that. And the two are that what they're going to do is the same thing they did with the Z, formerly the 370Z, and now I believe just the Z.
Yes.
Which some people call the 409 May, just for the sake of this, which is take the existing platform and effectively facelift it in a more serious and meaningful way, bring it up to date. And I think with the GT-R, it's really stuff like the interior that needs a lot of work, and make the car look and feel new enough to justify it, and to then basically carry on. The other potential line of inquiry is that they are going to develop an actually all-new car. Now, on the one hand, method A means that it's minimal R&D for them. Much of the expense has already been spent developing the platform before. We all know that it's a very, very good platform, and with some work, I think, can genuinely keep going and producing good cars and good numbers. But there is a possibility that, like the Z, it might be a platform they either can't or can't justify selling to Europe.
And that was a big problem for the, let's call it 400Z, because they were putting in there the VR30 DTT, which is like the baby GT-R engine, and the R&D costs of making that homologatable in Europe was going to be far too high. They wouldn't be able to meet the emissions without a huge investment in R&D, and that would simply make it just not a viable option. So they just said, well, sorry, you can't have it. Only Japan, Australia, and North America, if I'm not mistaken. There are so many car companies that do reuse platforms. The Golf platform has been reused across all sorts of things. And there are other cars that have gone from one generation to another that have retained the same platform. You mentioned the 400Z in the Nissan line, being the 370Z from before, but also the Evora to the Emira.
That's correct, although Lotus are cheapskates. So that explains that one. Nissan have a bigger budget, but also a bigger problem, because they are a large company, which means they are subject to much tighter rules than the likes of Ferrari and Lamborghini, who I did mock earlier. But actually, thinking about it now, the GT-R predates your Gallardo, and now we've got the Temerario. So even for Lamborghini, who move at a glacial pace, they came out with an entire model, the Huracan, started it, facelifted it, discontinued it within the GT-R's life. But option number 2, on the face of it, of course, is the one that everybody wants. Build a brand new car from the ground up. However, this is where reality bites. And it bites, unfortunately, from many different angles. The most painful truth of all that people just don't want to accept is the fact that not many people are buying sports cars.
Yep.
Particularly premium cars from badges they don't consider to be premium. And I always felt that this was a real issue with the GT-R in Britain. And the NSX had exactly the same problem, whereby I think only 2 dealers in the whole country were actually authorised to sell the NSX. And they were basically next door to each other in London anyway. Apparently there was some sort of internal spat with one of them being, quote unquote, the flagship, and the other one down the road saying, yeah, but we sell more cars, so we should sell the NSX. And then they fought over the half dozen cars that anyone ever bought here. With the GT-R, I think Nissan would be wise to almost deal direct with customers, because Nissan dealers are set up to sell Leafs, Dukes, cash cars and that sort of thing. I remember a long time ago, I think I've talked about it on our Radiator Arms podcast before, that I suggested a GT-R to a friend of mine who was buying stuff like Ferraris, R8s, 911 GT3s, that sort of thing. And we found a Nissan dealer that had a car in stock, and they were was it a Nissan Performance Centre, whatever they call it?
They were the only ones authorised to sell and work on both GT-Rs and 370Zs.
There you go. And they had a car, but they wanted him to fill out and complete a finance application before they'd let him do a test drive. And that, to me, you just doom your products, because you can walk into a Ferrari dealer and drive a car.
Look, that might have been that one dealer. When I bought my first 370Z back in 2009, I bought it brand new. It was from Glyn Hopkin in Romford, and the person working there at the time was a guy called Mark Kemish, who I've stayed Facebook friends with over the years at the very least, and occasionally will exchange a message. He's not there anymore, unfortunately, but he delivered a supercar buying experience for me. He was amazing. He gave us tickets, 5 tickets to Goodwood, you know, for all of us to go and have fun. Before I'd even bought the car, he let me test drive a pre-production car that they had going around the country for people to try out. You knew it was a pre-production car because it had an Infinity logo on the steering wheel. And, you know, when it came to actually collecting the car, I was the only customer in the showroom, and he just created this amazing unveiling type experience for me and my son.
Globally, the GT-R never really sold that many units. I know we sometimes think of it as a mass production car, but compared to a 911, they sold a handful. They didn't even sell Jaguar F-type numbers. The GT-R was always a very rare car, and I wager part of the reason that the price went up from, was it £55,000 when it started, to closer to £100,000 for the base model at the end was because Nissan didn't really make much money. So when you look at what they put into the car in the early days, you've got all-wheel drive, you've got that DCT box, which was very unusual for 2007, you've got bespoke engine built on a production line, one-man, one-engine assembly for the motor, all sorts of stuff going in there. To sell that for the price they did, that's pretty incredible. And ultimately, whatever comes next, it's going to be a lot more money. So already Nissan know they're just not going to sell that many. And if I were an accountant, and accountants do run the world, you'd be looking at it and going, that's a non-starter.
No.
Because whatever they build, however they have to do it, it is going to cost more money. I mean, heck, we're currently driving around in the Nismo, which is amazing, but it's £180,000.
Yep.
And there's no escaping it, but I think in a lot of ways, it just wouldn't measure up to a lot of the competition if it were still on sale today.
Yeah, this is true. And, well, I think the other consideration we have is the current state of the car market, which makes it even harder. Now they have to justify what they build and what they design and develop even more than they ever did before. Yeah. The whole global car market is struggling.
Yeah.
Nissan announced that they were losing something like 9,000 jobs globally. So they will probably be looking at this and thinking, can we afford to do it? What I'm hoping they'll say is, can we afford to not do it? Because there is a value in a halo car. It makes the rest of the cars cool. Even though you're driving around in your Duke
Hey, my mum had a Duke Nismo.
There you go. It wouldn't be cool unless you have a GT-R Nismo.
No, that is true. Although I'm pretty sure my mum didn't know what Nismo was. I think she probably thought it was a condition of some sort. But I actually quite like the car. And they did the Nismo RS as well, didn't they? Which I think if you were to explain to her and go, I drive a Nismo RS, I think they're going to be quite underwhelmed.
Oh, hang on. And the R, which they made, I think they made 5 of them.
Is that the one with the GT-R engine?
With the GT-R engine in it, with the whole passengers and driver's seat moved back.
I seem to recall they built it basically for a laugh.
Yes.
And then a customer said, oh, cool, can we buy one? And they said, don't be silly, it'd be a fortune. And they went, how much?
Yeah.
And they were just like, it was like 300 odd grand a car or something like that. And they were like, okay, yeah, fine, done.
Yeah.
I would love, on my like bucket list of like, come on, I would love to have a go at one of them. If you gave me a choice between driving the Nismo GT-R or the Duke, like,
Duke, yeah, every time.
Every single time. Although Nissan do currently have the Micra, don't they, with the 350 engine in the back of it?
Yes, the K12 from the early 2000s.
Yeah, which you did a video on. So if you want to see more about that, it's on Sports and Touring.
It is indeed. And it is road legal. And I'm trying to convince the Nissan UK folks to let us borrow it.
Please, if we can. They do have some nice stuff in the Heritage fleet, but if you want to see more of that, well, you'll just have to like and subscribe to this channel and, of course, JayEmm on the Cars. So I think we're both agreed that we, of course, want another GT-R. Mm-hmm. The big problem, I think, is that we would like a GT-R that we can actually buy. And if they take, let's just call it, the Z route, it's not going to happen. The only upside to the Z route would be there is a possibility they can more or less keep the car as it is, maybe not even have to hybridize it, but if we want one, we'll have to import it.
Yeah.
There's just going to be no way around it. Now, we're lucky that in the UK, there's not really anything stopping us doing that, but it would be a faff and a hassle, and it would make the cars, I think, incredibly expensive.
Do we think it would ever be an EV?
So I've got a theory on that. There is a possibility, of course, and people are talking about it all the time. It is the topic at the moment and has been for a while, and I think will be for some time. We still don't seem to be very clear whether the world is going to carry on transitioning towards a 100% EV future, or if maybe it's going to go a little bit backwards. Everybody seems to be kind of on pause at the moment because consumer appetite is very clear in that it doesn't really want EVs, or more accurately, not everybody wants an EV, which I think is the sticking point. You know, it's had a fairly easy time in the early days with early adopters and so on and so forth, being willing to put up with various different issues along the way, as early adopters often do. But now it's trying to get into the mainstream, it's struggling. Mm-hmm. Of course, in the petrolhead enthusiast segment, it's even more difficult than ever. But at the moment, certainly in Europe, the rules and regs haven't changed. And there's a part of me that kind of would like to see what Nissan would do with the GT-R as an EV. And part of me thinks, on the one hand, I know people wouldn't like it because you take away a bit of the modability of it, which of course the GT-R and its Skyline heritage is famous for. But there's still other stuff you could do with it, of course there is. But it's already a fairly heavy car.
Yep.
Battery technology and motor technology is improving all the time. So for the car to go from 1,800 kilos to, if they could keep it to around about 2 tons, might not be the disaster that it might first seem. It's already visually quite a large car. So, you know, when I look at something like, say, a Ferrari 458, if you told me where can you hide batteries in there, I'd look at it and go, I don't know. You look at the GT-R and you go, yeah, no, I can see that. And it might even free up some, you know, room for improvement in terms of the styling and things. I know they did that concept you showed me, the wild, crazy EV concept. But they did also build an actual electric GT-R, didn't they?
They did, an R33. No, R32, which was converted to be full EV. So the thought is at least crossing their minds. Now, I don't think anyone here or any of you are likely to be craving a full all-EV GT-R, but it might be the only way to keep it alive.
What I think would be really interesting is if Nissan could find a way of building a new platform on which they could make both a GT-R and a Z. Your GT-R, of course, would be bigger, more powerful, more expensive, all-wheel drive and 2+2. And then your Z would be smaller, more compact, lighter, more agile and strict two-seater. And in very, very basic terms, I understand it's a bit more complicated than this, you just shorten the thing down. You just lop out the rear seats and, you know, cut a load of weight and whatnot. And I mean, this, to be honest, is how an awful lot of cars have been built over the years, long before the advent of electricity.
Yeah, Audi do this as well a lot. Like a lot of the vehicles that between Audi and Volkswagen are based on a modular platform. So there's no reason why it couldn't be done, other than costs. Which is why, if it's going to come back, I think the most likely thing is that it's going to do a Z. Because when the Z first came out, we were told this is an all-new Z. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, the proportions on that prototype look a bit similar to the 370Z. So I got super nerdy. I actually calculated the total number of pixels in a picture, scaled that to the actual length of a 370Z, took a picture of the proto, found out what its measurements were, scaled that, and then put the two cars above each other, and you could draw straight lines vertically through the wheelbase of these two cars. They were exactly the same wheelbase. Then we started to see pictures of the inside of the car, and you're like, well, it's got a manual handbrake in exactly the same place. It's got the manual gear lever in exactly the same place. You can see that the proportions of the interior have remained the same. So you know that it's basically the same car. And then eventually it did come out that, save for a few small changes that they made, it is exactly a 370Z platform, but with a new body and new interior. I think that's the most likely outcome for the GT-R. The trouble with that is weight, if they are then going to try and go down the hybrid path.
Although, I don't think I'm misremembering this. Didn't Nissan debut a while back an engine that was incredibly light and seriously powerful? I remember a picture of a chap actually holding the thing. It was like, what was it, a 1 litre, 1.5 litre, made like 400 horsepower or something utterly mad. Maybe there's some technology in there that, because let's face it, in terms of the GT-R, it's the engine which is the problematic bit. But if they can find a way of making it work and getting it through the regs or getting it close enough, then, I don't know, maybe. And maybe Nissan are going to bet really, really big and go, yeah, sod it, we're not even going to bother hybridizing it. We're just going to give it more of the same because we know it's what people like. It was already a car that was kind of famous for being kind of old school in a modern world, despite what people think of it. And maybe they'll go, hey, you know what? We're going to build it, and hopefully the customers will come. And maybe a couple of years down the line, people will go, oh, blimey, crikey, oh no, what a terrible, terrible idea. Why did we do the whole EV sports car thing? Like, and Nissan would be sat there going, I mean, I'd like that to happen.
Yeah, and even though we're saying, oh, maybe they can't sell them in Europe, I guarantee you someone out there saying, well, Porsche managed to do it, why can't they?
That is true. Porsche build 911 GT3s with 9,000 RPM naturally aspirated flat sixes, though I think that was partly justified by the many, many Cayennes and Macans they sell, and I think your average Porsche customer is less likely to notice a 15 grand fine stuck on top of every car, but your Nissan customer probably would.
Well, I don't know, it depends. I mean, if they were able to build this car for, let's say, 110,000, which would be, you know, 10, 15,000 over what it was before, then threw on a 15,000, then the new GT-R was 130,000.
Yeah.
Given that the previous one was £100,000,
yeah,
give or take, that
the
wouldn't
way the
seem,
market's going, like,
yeah, it wouldn't seem entirely insane. Whether anyone would buy it when they then have a choice between that and, say, a Carrera T, not so sure.
Only one thing for it, I think. I'm hopefully going to be going to Japan next year, at long last, for the first time in my life. I'll just have to pack some extra high-power binoculars and pop over to the Nissan factory and see if I can see anything spicy in camouflage. Thank you for watching today's video, and most importantly, we'd like to hear from you as to what you think the next GT-R could, would, or should be. So pop into the comment section, tell us. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time here at JayEmm Friends. Bye-bye.